Greetings, Unsettled Souls. Welcome to the Saturday edition. News from the science front. Pre-recording this one because I'm going to be on the road. Hopefully, you've heard this as part of me being on the phone on the show. If not, you're still getting your news from the science front. And I'm doing two stories today since I may not be on the air. This is from RT. One of these takes place here on terra firma, right here on Earth, and the other one, some of the space stuff I'm covering too. This I thought was earth-shattering. This should be the front page news on every medical journal and medical discussion for the next year. May 14th, 2015, RT. Psychiatric drugs kill 500,000 people plus. Western adults annually. Few positive benefits, according to a leading scientist. My ex believes that there is this mythical chemical imbalance that is in someone's head that makes them manic depressive and that makes them this or that. And I've always said that there is absolutely no scientific proof for this whatsoever. There's no tests, there's no nothing. They just say it's so and you're supposed to believe it is. Most diagnoses, if you have some awful disease, they can, and not all, but most, they can find and say, hey, look at this. X-rays or blood work or something shows it. It's made up of whole cloth. This article even mentions, I'll get to it, schizophrenia. I'd be willing to entertain thoughts of schizophrenia being helped if you consider helping put into a comatose state. But I mean, it is better than walking around, hallucinating. But just the same, listen to this. Psychiatric drugs lead to the deaths of over 500,000 people aged 62 and over annually in the West, a Danish scientist says. He warns that the benefits of these drugs are minimal and have been vastly overstated. Research director at Denmark's Nordic Cochrane Center, Professor Peter, it looks like Gotzsche, Gotzsche, says that the use of most antidepressants and dementia drugs could be halted without inflicting harm on the patients. The Danish scientist's views were published in the British Medical Journal on Tuesday. That's a major medical journal. Let me repeat that. For all of you, I'm on Xanax because my doctor says I have a chemical imbalance. Your doctor is wrong. Most antidepressants and dementia drugs could be halted without inflicting harm on patients. End quote. His scathing analysis will likely prove controversial among traditional medics. Yeah, because they're paid for by big pharma. It says, however, concern is mounting among doctors and scientists worldwide that psychiatric medication is doing more harm than good. In particular, they say that antipsychotic drugs have been overprescribed to many dementia patients in the bid to calm agitated behavior. Gochi warns psychiatric drugs kill patients year in, year out, and hold few, if any, positive benefits. He says in excess of 500,000 citizens access to the Western world age 65 and older will die annually as a result of taking these drugs. Their benefits would need to be colossal to justify this, but they are minimal, he writes. Given their lack of benefit, I estimate that we could stop almost all psychotropic drugs without causing any harm. In other words, you're taking them just because you want to feel good on them. And let's face it, many of us have done it. When my parents died, it's possible that I may have found my way into getting some of these myself. You know what? You take them for a week, you put them down. This daily dosing of oneself because you can't deal with stress is BS. Gochi, who is also a clinical trials expert, says drug trials funded by big pharmaceutical companies tend to produce biased results because many patients took other medications prior to the tests. He says patients cease taking the old drugs and then experience a phase of withdrawal prior to taking the trial pharmaceuticals, which appear highly beneficial at first. In other words, when the drugs quit working, a new drug makes them feel good, and they say it's working, and then, of course, they get immune to the good feelings of that drug, and it never really addressed the psychiatric issue at all. That's what it says. It says he warns that the fatalities from suicides in clinical trials are also greatly underreported. In the case of antidepressants, venlafaxine and fluoxetine, Gochi casts doubt over their efficiency. He said depression lifts in placebo groups, that is, giving fake medicine, who are given fake tablets almost as promptly as in groups who partake in official clinical tests. In other words, it's all in their head. He also stressed the results of trials of drugs used to treat schizophrenia are disconcerting, while those for ADHD are ambiguous. Commenting on the negative side effects of pharmaceutical drugs, Gochi argued that the short-term relief appears to be replaced by long-term harm. Animal studies strongly suggest that these drugs can produce brain damage, which can be proven, unlike this chemical imbalance, which cannot. And that is probably the case of all psychotropic drugs, he said. Given their lack of benefits, again, I estimate that we could stop almost all psychotropic drugs without causing harm by dropping all antidepressants, ADHD drugs, and dementia drugs, and using only a fraction of the antipsychotics and benzodiazepines that we currently use. In other words, for the extreme cases, the people that they're so bad off it would hardly even matter is pretty much what he's talking about here. It says this would lead to healthier and more long-lived populations. Gochi says psychotropic drugs are immensely harmful if used for prolonged periods. They should almost exclusively be used in acute situations and always with a firm plan for tapering off, which can be difficult for many patients, he adds. Gochi's views are contradicted, it says, by, again, mostly Big Pharma. So, friends, look up the article. I've been saying it for years. I'm so happy that a major study has proved that this is, in fact, the correct views. And that brings us to part 2 of your news from the science front here, friends. Those of you that like to go into space, off we go, lift off. This is by Alex Cubertson, express.co.uk. Statue of Liberty-sized asteroid on collision course to hit Earth, experts fear. This isn't good. Asteroid 2012 TC4 is set to whiz dangerously close to our planet for the second time after the space rock narrowly missed Earth in October of 2012. Astronomers estimate 2012 TC4 could be as large as 40 meters wide, just under the height of New York's famous Statue of Liberty, from her feet to the tip of her torch. This is twice the size of the meteor that exploded over the Russian city of Chelyabinsk in February 2013, which injured 1,500 people and damaged more than 7,000 buildings. The impact of the larger 2012 TC4 asteroid predicted to the near Earth in October 12th of 2017 could be even more devastating. And worryingly, experts cannot yet predict where in the world it will strike. That's just ducky. Another great reason to build more nuclear power plants. It says Dr. Judith, I'm not even going to try. Yes, I am. Gygor Rice, G-Y-O with an umulon, R-G-Y-E-Y hyphen R-I-E-S, go for it. Astronomer said at the University of Texas McDonald Observatory, told space blog astrowatch.net, we could see an airburst, maybe broken windows, depending on where it hits. A giant asteroid was discovered on October 4th, 2012 by a Hawaiian observatory, and a week later narrowly missed Earth when it passed 94,800 kilometers away. Detlef Kishny, head of the Near-Earth Object segment of the European Space Agency, said that there is a 1 in a million chance that it could hit us. The size was estimated from the brightness, but we don't know the reflectivity, so it could be smaller or larger, assumed from 10 to 40 meters. That'd be quite an impact. The 40-meter-long iron, no less, object would go through the atmosphere and make a crater. A 10-meter rocky object would hardly be noticed. NASA's Asteroid Watch said there is no chance the asteroid would hit Earth, but Dr. Reese said more observations are needed to mitigate uncertainties. So, I mean, those of you that are interested in things like this, it does make you wonder which ones don't we know about already. That's the one. Are there bigger ones lurking out there? And there are things we can do to disperse them if we know about them, but we're too busy spending money on things like how to blow each other up. Friends, that is your news from the science front. Hit share.